What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid-fade on my boy, so stay tuned. We started off by picking out his hair and making sure on canvas is nice and neat. Now that we're done picking out his hair, we can move on to our anti outliners and create our first guideline. You always want to make sure you contour this guideline to their head shape so the fade can flow better. Always make sure to stretch the skin with your opposite hand when balding out with your trimmer so you can make it easy on them. Now that we're done balding them out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You always want to make sure you make this guideline around 1 inch thick so you can spread the blend. How much space you have in your canvas really does matter when making your bald line and how thick your guidelines are going to be, and also how much weight you're going to leave on the sides. That all matters, especially if you want to keep the fade low and keep the corners dark. Then your guidelines really do matter on how thick you make them. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. With this same guard, we're going to use the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the half guard. When you begin softening up the guideline, it's very important to close the lever because the guard you're using to set the guidelines is always going to be larger than the guard you're using to blend out the guidelines. For example, we're making the guideline with the 1 guard all the way open, but we're gonna soften it up and then take it out with a half guard. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now we're moving on to our 2 guard all the way open and we're creating our 4th guideline. You want to flick out as much as possible when you're near the parietal ridge. It's very important, especially when you're leaving weight. And then you also want to use your comb as much as possible to either feed the hair into the clipper or lay down the hair. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 2 guard, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. And don't forget to use the lever. Now that we're done with our 2 guard and our 1.5 guard, we can move on to our clipper of a comb and we're going to begin to debulk and shape up our silhouette. This is when you start to sculpt the hair. You want to make sure you take specific measurements with your comb, especially at a certain angles, because if you just chop and go ahead and chop, it's not going to look right. The hair's not going to lay down right, and also your client's going to be very mad. A lot of the times I like to saturate the hair before using clipper of a comb, but sometimes with curly hair, I just do it dry. As you can see, that line pretty much disappeared. Now we're gonna move on to our other guards and then try to remove the line completely. As you can see, I'm using my horizontal cuts to debulk as much as possible. Now that we're done creating our silhouette, we're going to saturate the hair and detangle it. This is going to prepare us for our shear work and also is going to get the hair out of his forehead so I can line him up. Now we're detailing as much as possible with our previous guards, the 1.5 guard and the 1 guard all the way open. As you can see, the fade is starting to come in really nicely, especially between the 2 guard and the 1 guard all the way open. You want to make sure you detail that line. Moving on to our NST outliners, we're going to start off at the bottom and work our way to the top arch. You want to always keep a light hand when you're lining up the C cups. The skin is usually delicate in this area, so you could either cut them or make them irritated really quickly. Moving on to the back, we're going to start off with our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever and attack that initial guideline we created with our NST outliners. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. We are right on top of the occipital bone, so you want to make sure we detail as much as possible. Right now we're softening up the line with the lever and we're getting ready for the half guard. Now that we're done with our lower guards, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. We're then going to soften up the slot guideline with the lever and get ready for the 1.5 guard. once we're done using the 1.5 guard, we're going to switch over to our 1 guard all the way open so we can detail that guideline. Don't forget to stretch the skin with your opposite hand. Remember, we are on top of the occipital bone, so we're spending as much time here. Now we're moving on to our clipper over comb method, and we are near the calic area, so we're going to leave as much weight here as possible without making it look too bulky, and we're also going to smooth out the fade. Since we already saturated the hair, we could go ahead and create our first guideline throughout the middle of the capitus. Don't forget to keep this guideline consistent throughout the whole head, because then we're going to connect it through the sides. Now that we're done doing shear work on top, we're going to take our blow dryer and dry out the hair. When lining up the C-cup, you want to make sure you go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, especially when you're using the corners, because there is less teeth there, so it's harder for the hair to feed in. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now we're moving on to our NST outliners, and we're starting off in the middle, working our way to the sides. You want to make sure to go slow and make sure the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then it won't lay down and line up properly. You also want to keep the vertical bars as natural as possible. The best thing to do before you line someone up is lay down the baby hairs and debulk them. This is so they don't flop or fly away when you're lining them up. we're gonna move on to our Turkish Razor and Derma Premium blades. When you're using the razor, you want to stretch the skin with your opposite hand as much as possible and keep it at a 45-degree angle. What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing you guys a brand new video. We're going to be doing a mid-fade on my boys, so stay tuned. Like always, you want to start off by saturating the top and combing everything in place, making sure you have a nice and neat canvas. Now that we're done combing everything in place, we can move on to our 3-guard all the way open and debulk the sides. As you can see, once I'm reaching the parietal ridge, I'm flicking out and I'm using my comb to feed the hair into the clipper. The reason why you want to flick out once you reach the parietal ridge is that you leave weight on the sides. As you can see, I'm using my comb as much as possible, feeding the hair into the clipper. Here we're switching over to our 4-guard all the way open, and we're going right above the 3-guard all the way open, and this is going to make sure we debulk as much as possible before we use our clipper over comb method. Now that we're done debulking the sides, we can move on to our clipper over comb method and make the fade as smooth as possible. As you can see, I'm grabbing the hair that's saturated with the comb and I'm pulling it at a certain angle, and then I'm debulking with my horizontal cuts. When using the clipper over comb method near the calic area, you want to make sure you take your time in detail and leave as much weight as possible so that the hair can lay down. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now that we're done creating our silhouette, we can move on to the fade and create our first guideline. You want to make sure you contour this guideline to their head shape so that the fade will flow better. It will also make the fade very unique to their head shape. Now that we're done balding them out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You want to make sure you make this guideline around 1 inch thick so you can spread the blend properly. Also, don't be afraid to hold the skin down with your opposite hand so you give you more space to blend. Now that we're done setting in our guideline, we can slightly close the lever and start attacking that initial guideline that we created with our NST outliners. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to the one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. We're then going to use this same guard and the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the one guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. You want to make sure you stretch the skin as much as possible with your opposite hand and use the corners. Now we're using the two guard all the way open to create a fourth guideline. This guideline is going to help us get ready for the 1.5 guard. Now that the line is soft enough, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Sometimes there's still a faint line after using the 1.5 guard, so switching over to your one guard all the way open and using its corners would definitely help. Now that we're done with the 2 guard and 1.5 guard, we can move on to the 3 guard all the way open and begin to detail the parietal ridge. Moving on to the back side, we're starting off with our no guard all the way open and we're creating our second guideline. We're then going to close the lever midway and all the way closed to help us erase that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to the one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. This guideline is going to be right on top of the occipital bone, so you want to make sure you detail as much as possible and use your corners. Now that we're done softening up the line with the one guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Now we're moving on to our 2 guard all the way open, and this is going to be right above the occipital bone. Remember, we're going to use this same guard and the lever to soften up the line and get it ready for the 1.5 guard. Now Now that we're done softening up the line, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. This guard is very important, especially when you're near the occipital bone. This is going to connect the 1 guard all the way open to the 2.5 guard. Now we're going back to our 2 guard all the way open and we're detailing as much as possible. Here I'm using my previous guards, the 1 guard all the way open, to detail the occipital bone. Moving on to our NST outliners, we're going to start off at the bottom and work our way to the top arch using the corners and go as slow as possible, making sure the hair feeds into the trimmer. When using the corner of the trimmer, you want to make sure not to press too hard because you could cut them with the teeth of the trimmer. You also want to take as much time as possible near the lineup area, especially when you're lining up their C-cups, because this is a very easy area to push back and mess up. Before we start our shear work, we're going to make sure we saturate the hair as much as possible so we can get the true length of the hair follicle. Now that we're done saturating the hair and combing everything in place and making sure all the tangles are gone, we could create our first guideline at the top of the capitus and then connect it to the sides. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Also, if you made it this far into the video, make sure you leave a comment of my subscriber count down below. Even if you don't, I'm 100% gonna reply to your comment.